With the world focused on the US-Israel war with Iran, the situation in Gaza is now receiving far less attention. But while American and Israeli jets bomb Tehran and Iranian missiles fall on Tel Aviv, in Gaza, Israel's genocidal military campaign continues. Because in Gaza, there is no ceasefire, and there's never been a ceasefire. The reality is that Israel has relentlessly violated the US-brokered ceasefire that was supposed to have gone into effect on October 10th of last year. International media and Western politicians may call it a ceasefire, but children in Gaza are still being killed almost every single day by the Israeli military. Since the so-called ceasefire was declared, there have been at least 1,620 documented violations of the agreement by the Israeli military, and over 650 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza, while more than 1,700 have been wounded. A tragic number of those casualties have been children, and these numbers continue to rise every single day. Every week, the Israeli military continues its assault across the Gaza Strip. In fact, since the US and Israel began bombing Iran a couple of weeks ago, the Israeli military has killed dozens of people in Gaza. Week after week, without pause, the killing continues. The scale of what's happened and what continues to happen is beyond horrifying. Since October 2023, the confirmed death toll in Gaza has now reached over 72,000 people, including more than 20,000 children. Those numbers are according to the Gaza Health Ministry, which Israeli military officials have recently acknowledged are broadly accurate. But the numbers of people killed is very likely much worse. A landmark study published in the medical journal, The Lancet Global Health, suggests that the official figures are a significant undercount. An analysis published in February estimated that there were over 75,000 violent deaths in Gaza, roughly 35% higher than what local authorities had reported at the time. There have also been over 172,000 injuries recorded. And still, Israel's attacks on a desperate people struggling to survive in Gaza continue. This is not simply a matter of the ceasefire breaking down. It's not a fragile truce being strained by mistrust. This is a systematic pattern of daily attacks by Israel. Its relentless airstrikes, artillery fire, drone strikes, homes being demolished, all carried out under the banner of a ceasefire that only exists on paper. The reality is simple. Israel is continuing a campaign of managed genocide in Gaza. And here's what I mean by that. First of all, it's important to remember that the majority of the world's leading genocide and Holocaust scholars, including Israeli academics and major human rights organizations, including Israeli human rights groups like B'Tselem, have all stated publicly that Israel's war in Gaza meets the definition of genocide under international law. But genocide takes many forms. A managed genocide is a systematic continuation of killing and also restricting aid, all while maintaining just enough international cover to avoid consequences. During this so-called ceasefire, Israel has not stopped killing innocent Palestinians, including children, bombing families sheltering in tents, raiding residential areas, demolishing homes and property. These are not responses to Hamas. These are not security operations. This is the continuation of a genocidal war that never stopped, a war Israel insists is paused even as it continues to kill. And the killing is not subtle. It's not hidden. It's not accidental. For example, just a few days ago on March 6th, Israeli military forces shot and killed a 13-year-old boy near a school in northern Gaza. Then on March 7th, a 4-year-old girl named Julia Al-Qudra was killed alongside her father Ahmed in an Israeli drone strike on their home in central Khan Yunis. Julia had been getting ready for her kindergarten. Her father was going to take her. An Israeli missile killed them both. On March 9th, Israeli artillery struck tents sheltering displaced families near Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza. Among those killed was Amal Shamali, a 46-year-old correspondent for Qatar Radio. Amal was in her tent when she was killed. She was the 253rd journalist killed by Israeli forces in this conflict, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists. More journalists have been killed in Gaza since October 2023 than in the U.S. Civil War, both world wars, Korea, Vietnam, and Afghanistan combined. And just yesterday, there were Israeli strikes across the Gaza Strip, including a targeted airstrike on the Al Nansar refugee camp in central Gaza, causing a massive fire in tents sheltering displaced families. These are not aberrations. These are not outliers. This is the rhythm of daily life in Gaza, even under a ceasefire that the world pretends is real. So what does it mean when a ceasefire is violated more than 1,000 times? Or when hundreds of people are killed by a military during a period supposedly defined by restraint? What does it mean when children continue to die every single day? It means the word ceasefire has become a lie that Western governments have agreed to tell. It means the international community is willing to accept a fiction and look the other way, while real people, real families, real children continue to be killed by Israel. And it means something even darker. The unrelenting, indiscriminate violence and killing is not a deviation from Israel's policy. It is the policy. Because when a tent encampment is bombed during a ceasefire, when civilians are shot during a ceasefire, when homes are demolished during a ceasefire, when children are killed during a ceasefire, it is simply Israel continuing its campaign of destruction and murder under a different name. Genocide is not only the act of killing, it's the act of ensuring that killing never truly stops. And that is what we are watching in Gaza. A ceasefire that exists only in press releases, a managed genocide that continues in slow motion, a world that pretends not to see what is happening in front of it. Palestinian children are still dying almost every day, not because the ceasefire failed, but because it never was honored by Israel in the first place. And until we name that truth, until Western media stop pretending that the ceasefire in Gaza is real simply because Western diplomats and politicians say it is, we in the West remain complicit in the lie that allows this violence to continue. This is not a ceasefire. This is occupation. This is annihilation. This is a genocidal campaign designed to make Gaza so deadly, so unlivable, that Palestinians face an impossible choice: abandon their homeland or be killed. Despite this so-called ceasefire, Israel's military objectives have not changed: to eliminate Palestinians by killing them or by forcing them to flee a manufactured, uninhabitable nightmare. This is methodical ethnic cleansing. What we're seeing every day is the continuation of a war against a trapped civilian population, a war that targets children with horrifying regularity under the false cover of a ceasefire Israel never intended to respect. There is no ceasefire. There never was a ceasefire in Gaza. It's all a lie that lets Israel continue its managed genocide. Western governments and international media need to stop pretending otherwise.